Great.
Yeah.
I heard a story from your daughter, Laura, about the gentleman, someone who was going to the refrigerator all the time, and you wanted to make sure that it was not a system error, and they found out that it was actually the dementia they had was increasing, which was interesting because you actually are able to determine what the norm is, and then any deviation, you pick it up.
Exactly. And in the business, they would call that assessment. It is a way of assessing to see if things are, how they're doing, basically. So that's a good example. You want to make sure that someone is eating. So you may put a sensor in their refrigerator and just to make sure that they're going in there.
Well, no one sees these folks. I mean,
no, this isn't
they
cameras.
Can run around in their birthday suit and they're safe.
We don't even want to see that.
Okay. How about medication?
Medication, obviously that's a huge problem for people to remember.
They forget.
So at the time I said there's monitoring, but there's also a communication aspect to this. The system, it looks like a little VCR, and it hooks up just like a VCR would hook up to your television.
Okay.
So now you've got a special channel on your television set that represents a system. Now normally this would be showing pictures from home, pictures of all your grandchildren, things like this. It also shows calendar events, when you've got to do something, and reminds you to do things.
Now who does that?
Usually it's the caregiver. So now if I get on my father's system and I put down calendar events, I tell him what I'm doing because he's kind of interested in what I'm doing. He does a couple things a week. He does partners in reading, and he goes to church and so forth, and that's all on his calendar, or maybe he has a doctor's appointment. But also I put stuff that's on my calendar so he knows where we are.
That's nice.
Yeah, he enjoys that. So then of course that will come up on his TV. So say it's time for him to take his medication.
Yeah.
We would put probably a little sensor in the area where his pills are, and if he doesn't go over there between 9 and 10 in the morning, up on the TV comes the little reminder, Dad, remember to take your medication.
It's all automatic.
All automatic. If another hour goes by, it calls him. So he gets a phone call from the system that says, take your medication, and if it goes another hour, then it would call us and we would call him.
And that's all, you just program it in. Is it simple to program in?
We think it's very simple. We a lot of the, as I mentioned, my co-founder was Gaitha. She's a boomer woman representing
She's great.
the person that normally gives care in this country. So she had a lot to do with saying how the system had to work, and it has to be easy. It has to be easy. It can be fully featured, but it's got to be simple. Everything's a wizard. It steps you through bit by bit, and we think it's our experience has been that people have no problem in picking it up. So what happens then is the caregiver is on the internet, could be at home, could be at work, could be in Jamaica for all, and can communicate and add those rules. For medication, I use it myself. I have to take something in the morning. It's a chronic thing. It's not very serious, but it's important that I take it.
And you get so busy you forget?
Well, I don't forget very often, but every once in a while I do. So I have the system email me to remind me. So it emails me and says, Charlie, you forgot your pills, of course, then when Well, we need our houses have to be able to take care of us a little bit, whether it's remind us of things.
That's interesting.
Or whatever. I think of that. In long-term care, everyone wants to stay in their house, in their own home. And happily, that's the least expensive alternative, for sure.
What? Our home care policies right now, not only are they expensive monthly to be able to take a policy, an insurance policy out for something like that, right now, for those that weren't able to financially afford a premium, if they have to go in a long-term facility, it's anywhere between $4,000 and $6,000 a month.
Yes.
Now, what does something like your system run?
Well, our system retails, depending on the type of thing that you do. It also does a whole telehealth, which hopefully we'll talk about in a second.
Yeah, we will. The features in it.
The features.
So it's a la carte.
Right. So it ranges from about retail $1,500 to maybe $3,000 a month. Then there is
Isn't that not a month? Isn't it?
I'm sorry.
Yeah. Isn't it one time?
Oh, goodness.
And then there's a monthly fee. Yeah.
Yes.
We better qualify that.
So basically, if a system like this can keep you independent for a couple weeks longer, it's essentially paid for itself.
Well, actually, from what I understand and what I've read and talked to your family about, It's a good idea to get the system in actually a little before you need it.
It's just like insurance. You don't wait till you need it, because then it's too late. You'd like to get the system in a little bit before.
Yeah.
Before you really need it, so the senior can become accustomed to getting their information from this system.
Right. When the system is in, and it's actually, for the senior, it's pretty much invisible. All there is a TV, correct?
Right. It's just like watching TV.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, as I understand it, there's all sorts of other features available within this system. Now, we talked about it. What I would like, my parents, bless their souls, are passed now, but I know that there were issues while they were alive, and this would have come in handy, such as Dad leaving and not coming home and not knowing.
Right.
And I'd have no way of knowing that,
Right.
and then all of a sudden you get a call.
Right.
Or 2 days later you figure it out.
Right, which is not good.
No, it isn't. And I also see the need now. A lot of our parents want to stay home, but what happens if they get a visitor in the middle of the night? Isn't there something where maybe you can have it notify a neighbor and check up?
Absolutely.
If you're not in the close proximity.
Right. When we think about care, and we think about all the people that are aging in this country, it can't be just about professional caregivers. I was on the board for quite a few years for Cedar Community. They're wonderful people, but there just aren't enough of them.
And they're busy.
And there are just too many people that need help. So it's got to be a combination of the professional caregiver and familial or friend caregivers.
Yeah.
So exactly right. Say I live in California, my mother's here in Wisconsin, and I set up a rule that says if she goes out of her door between midnight and 5, I want to know. And maybe there's a friendly neighbor who kind of looks out for them a little bit.
Right.
Maybe we set it up so they get to know, so they can just walk on out there and see what's going on. And that's the way it's always been done. I mean, through human history, where neighbors and friends and family kind of help out. This system just allows that to happen even better.
It helps communicate with the support system,
Absolutely.
whoever they are and wherever they are.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's a wonderful thing. Now, we're going to take it a little step further. Now, I've heard that there are things to monitor weight, blood pressure, and
Yes.
don't you have another one, like a glucose thing coming up?
Glucometer, yes.
Tell me about those special features and what the needs may be.
This is something that may certainly appeal to the senior living at home, but this is something that would appeal just to the boomers. Because the biggest cost we have in our society, everyone complains about healthcare costs, and they should, because they're killing us. But the biggest problem is the control of chronic disease. That chronic disease could be hypertension, it could be congestive heart failure, it could be diabetes, whatever. And you don't wait until there's an episode, because once there's an episode of having to go to the emergency room, then we all pay. Then it's very expensive. So it's very important that you keep track in the long term of some of your health parameters. So our system has a wireless scale, a wireless blood pressure cup. It looks just like a regular blood pressure cup that you'd buy at the store, but it just happens to report wirelessly to the system, and it's got as you mentioned, a glucometer. So now what happens? I know I've done this myself because I was kind of the alpha site. I know my blood pressure for the last 2 years.
Do you?
Because my doctor said, I went to the doctor and they took my blood pressure and he said, you might consider medication.
Oh boy.
And I thought to myself, wow, you see me once a year.
Yeah.
How could you possibly make that suggestion?
Good call.
So instead now I take because your blood pressure can just vary greatly.
By the hour.
By the hour, by the minute.
Yeah.
So I take my blood pressure every morning. I get up, take my blood pressure, jump on, take my weight, and it keeps me a little on not eating too much. But I've learned so much about myself. I know what raises my blood pressure and what lowers it. I know if I go and have Chinese, the next morning I'm going to have high blood pressure. If I take some cold medication. So I learn those things about myself. And then I can see in the long term what's happening to my heart health. So now what I do is the system will allow you to print out those graphs. So now I bring those graphs to my doctor.